Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today, as you can tell by the caption of the video, we are going to be doing an encapsulated flower set. So before we get into the tutorial, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And yeah, comment down below what you want to see next. So as you can see, the nails are already prepped, ready to go. The reason I started the video from this point is just because this tutorial is focusing on how to do the flower encapsulation. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know, this is what you clicked on the video for, and not necessarily how to prep nails or do anything of that sort. So we're just going to skip over that. If that's something that you want to see, I have plenty of videos on my page that you can click on and watch a more detailed tutorial. But for now, this is just focusing on how to do the flower encapsulation look. So the first step is totally optional, but we wanted to do with this set like a nudish background going into the flowery clear tip. So as you can see, I took a bead of nude and I went ahead and placed it near the cuticle and just feathered it down. Like I said, that will give it sort of like a nudish calm background, and then the flowers will go like so. So we are also mixing some gold foil in with these nails as well. This set is really simple to do. Everything that you are placing on the nail, you just simply, pick up with a small bead of clear acrylic and place it where you would like it. When you go ahead and place it, the clear acrylic will, press down and kind of hold it in place. And if you feel like it didn't hold it enough, you can always go back in and just get just a little bit of acrylic and place it over top of the item to hold it even more. And I say a little bit because you're going to encapsulate the entire nail. So you don't want to get big blobs of acrylic and put it over each item or each thing that you're encapsulating, only because when you go to encapsulate the rest of the nail, it'll just overall give you a really fat, wonky nail that you're going to have to spend a lot of extra time filing down later on. So if you feel like you need to hold something in place, just start by using a little bit of acrylic to hold it for the time being. And then when you go back in and encapsulate the entire nail, everything will be held into place. So as you can see, I went ahead and placed everything how I wanted it, did the gold foil, went ahead and cut my flowers down into the size that I wanted them, and just literally, y'all, I'm just placing as I go like this. There's no method to it. I'm just, picking random flowers, cutting them, making the size that I want. I'm really doing this design as I go. So I went ahead and encapsulated the flowers, and typically if you wanted to, you could just use a bead to only encapsulate whatever it is. Like for in this instance, as you can see, the flowers are at the bottom. So if I wanted to, technically I could have gotten a bead and placed it there, and then once it was all feathered down, I could have kind of ombreed it up to just smooth it out. But me personally, I just like everything to be leveled and even, and I feel like it just looks better. It gives me a more peace of mind knowing that everything is the same. So I just, for most of these nails, just encapsulated the entire nail. I feel like it's just a safer, better way to do it. Like I said, totally optional. That's just how I wanted to do it. And so I just placed my first bead, encapsulated my flowers, and then I just went ahead and encapsulated the rest of the nail, making sure to wipe around the skin, making sure to wipe the sides of the nails and the free edge, keeping everything nice and clean, because this will really save you so much time in the end. You guys will see after I do the acrylic part that I literally had to do very minimal filing, and boom, I was done. Put the top coat on and was done. So I say that to say working cleaner, or as clean as you can anyways, will definitely help you in the long run. So now we are going to go ahead and move on to the next nail. And like I said, you guys, I'm literally just placing these flowers as I go. There's no method or pattern or anything. So again, I'm going to start with that one nude bead, and I'm just placing it over top of the natural nail bed, and I'm just blending that down just to give us that nice solid background. And by the way, all of these flowers, the foil, literally everything that I'm using can be found off of Amazon. If you would like the link to these items, just comment below and I'll make sure to reply back with the link. But they're super cheap, and they sent me like so many packs, y'all. So Definitely recommend using them, and they're super easy to work with. Like, with the pieces of foil, as y'all know, those are, pretty easy to work with. You just literally place them where you want. And as far as the flowers, if you see me like go in and, cut something, or I'm going to place a flower, well, it looks like I'm going to place a flower and then I decide not to, I'm just kind of, like I said, going, coming up with the pattern or design, I should say, as I'm going. And so sometimes, certain flowers wouldn't look right next to each other, or I feel like it was too big of a piece, or, anything like that. So I was just, moving and adding and removing as I pleased. And they actually turned out really cute. As you can see, it's not that hard of a process, y'all. I've already placed everything I wanted, and I'm going in with that first clear bead. And I like to just, you don't want it to be dry by any means, but you also don't want it to be too runny. But I feel like when encapsulating, if anything, you would rather it be more runny than dry. Because I feel like in the past, with me anyways, when I would use a dry bead and would try to use it, I mean, as you know, just with as with regular acrylic, well, an acrylic set, the acrylic ain't gonna go nowhere. It's just gonna come right off. But on top of that, I feel like with the pressure that you are applying with that dry bead, it could possibly pull whatever it is you're encapsulating off. So you just want to be mindful of that. But with this nail being a little bit longer, I did end up using 3 beads, and that is totally fine, you guys. Never feel like there's a limit to the amount of acrylic you can use. Now, granted, you don't want it to be super big and like a super thick nail, but you don't want it to be thin either. So I always just work 1 bead at a time, and that way, after I'm done with that nail, I can go back and look to see if I want to add any more, because it's always easier to add more acrylic in places than it is, or than it will be to, have to sit there and spend the time filing all that extra off, when it comes time to file. So as you can see, I just made sure to keep wiping around the skin, keeping all of the acrylic off. You know that if you have any acrylic that is on the cuticle or on the skin, it will stay. It will cause lifting. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping it nice and clean. Even if it looks like there's no acrylic, you might as well just do the wipe around the skin, just for safe measures, because why not, right? And so as you can see with the pinky and on this finger, and probably on multiple other fingers, I do go back in with a little more acrylic because, like I said, it's easier to just add on and better to add on, in my opinion, because you know that it's needed when you work little by little, rather than just automatically using so much acrylic and then being like, dang, I did not need all that. So then you have to go back and file it off. And another thing, I think when it comes to the nude acrylic, you want to make sure that it's totally optional, because like I said, we did this design, to our preference, but you don't need to use more than 1 bead if you're doing the design exactly this way when it comes to the nude, only because I feel like you don't want to build up too much of a nail before encapsulating. That is the point of the encapsulation. I mean, yes, I guess I should reword that. The point of the encapsulation is to, encapsulate and keep whatever it is inside of the nail. But you do want to keep in mind, this is probably the biggest tip that I can give. You do not want to build up the nail before encapsulating. And I say that because if your nail is already thick before you even put on the encapsulating acrylic, you're going to have an even thicker, fatter nail when you put that clear or whatever it is you're using to encapsulate. And that was my mistake, you guys, when I first started, especially with the encapsulation. I would put so much acrylic down and then put my stuff down and then try to encapsulate it, and the nails, y'all, would be horrendous. Like, they would be so fat. I would probably spend about 45 minutes on filing them and getting them down, which is just completely absurd. But just definitely keep that in mind, you guys. You just want to, whether you're using a solid color behind the whole nail, whether you're using some glitter, whatever it is that you are using underneath of the encapsulation, acrylic wise, you want to make sure that you're working in thin layers. The goal is not to build up the nail prior to the encapsulation. That is totally, it will be done with the encapsulation for sure. As you can see, like, my nails are a great consistency. They're not too thick, they're not thin by any means. They have a really nice apex, they have a really nice side view. Like, everything is good. And I'm only using, that one bead of nude, and that is strictly for I guess the decoration purposes. That's not the right word or the right term to use, but it's just for the look of the set. So even if I wouldn't have used that, the clear that I'm, using over topping and encapsulating in is more than enough. So, and like I said, as you've seen on the 2 fingers, and probably you will see again, I am going to go back in with smaller beads of acrylic just because I feel like I wanted to add a little more, and that's definitely okay. You do want to make sure, that's another thing to remember, when you are encapsulating, to give a good look at the nail and anything that you're encapsulating, because it might look like everything is in the clear, everything's covered, but sometimes, and I've experienced this when I first started, sometimes it ain't, but it be hiding. So then you go to file the nail, and then your drill files, a whole glitter off, and it just throws off the entire nail, or it'll eat a whole flower up, and now you're just left with, nothing. So definitely look at the nail, turn it, look at it in different angles in the light, and anything that you see showing, or if it's shining, if it is out in any way, if it's something that you want to be in that set for sure, make sure that you add some more clear acrylic over top of it and really, encapsulate it. That's the whole point here, right? Is to get it in the nail. We'll keep it in the nail. So it's no big deal. It's a really easy fix. Like I said, which is more than likely, now that I think about it, probably why I went back to add some more acrylic. But if you see anything, poking out, anything shining, anything that doesn't look like it's covered, just get another small bead of acrylic, or however much, you feel is needed for whatever item needs to be, recovered, and just place it over top of it and just lightly feather it, lightly blend it out, and then boom, easy fix. That was a big mistake I used to make when I first did encapsulating. I think those were my two biggest mistakes when I used to do encapsulation, was that I would make my nails super thick before and after. So then I'll just be left with this big old rock, and then I would not fully encapsulate it. So there would be, like I said, a major piece that was out or that wasn't covered all the way. And of course, when you go to use your e-file, it's just going to file it right away. So then I used to be so annoyed, because it's like, okay, now I'm left with the option to try to place it again, encapsulate it again, and now I'm going to have this very uneven bump. Or do I just take the L and be missing out on, whatever? It just used to be a big mess. So I just, definitely got into the habit of double checking. That kind of traumatized me, y'all, when I used to be having people walk away, and I'm like, dang, that would look so much better if, this would not have got filed off. But you live and you learn. So just take your time and make sure that everything is fully encapsulated. As you can see, I'm using about 3 or 4 beads, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just rather safe than sorry, especially when you're working with items that are this big. Like, as you can see, those leaves and the flowers that I'm using are pretty thick. It's not to the point where you have to use a ton of acrylic, but it's definitely something that you need to double check, triple check, make sure that it's fully covered. I don't think I had a major issue with things not being covered, though. But, just in case, especially if you're a beginner, it doesn't hurt to just double check. And as you can see, I'm wiping around the cuticles. I'm making sure to keep the acrylic nice and smoothed out, nice and blended. I'm making sure to wipe the side walls of the nails and the free edge. And as y'all see, I keep going back to, like, run my brush over the nails to kind of like gloss it up a little bit just so I can see how it's coming out. And I loved them. I just couldn't help myself. I needed to see what they looked like right then and there, or what they would look like anyways once I put the top coat on. So with the thumb, with it being a bigger base, or bigger canvas, I guess I should say, I did have to use more than one bead of the nude, and it was okay. You know, I didn't use too much or anything like that. It was just enough. I just worked with small beads and covered exactly what I needed to and made sure to lightly feather it and blend it down. When you are using all acrylics also, you do want to make sure that when you are, especially with encapsulation, because you don't want to brush too much off and just keep getting yourself stuck in the pattern of placing it, wiping it off, placing it, wiping it off, and then, 30 minutes went by and you're still working on this one nail and it's just all wonky. You do want to make sure that you are just lightly feathering the acrylic down. You don't want to apply too much pressure. You don't want to, cause yourself to just be wiping the acrylic off. So just make sure that you keep that in mind when you are applying all acrylic, but especially when you're encapsulating. As you can see on the thumb, the pieces that I used were kind of bigger, so I did kind of go back in and cut a few things and changed my mind on a few pieces. It was kind of getting hard, you guys, because I wanted to keep the nails full of variety. And then we were also on a major time crunch. So I did these in about an hour and 25 minutes, I believe. And that was kind of I don't want to say long. It felt long, it really did, but I think maybe it was because I was rushing. But I mean, you have to think when you're doing encapsulation, it is good to not have to rush because I mean, one, it just is, you're able to, really look at what you're doing and add as much detail or take away as much as you want rather than just, okay, we're going to do flower, leaf, foil, boom, flower, it would have been a lot better if I could have, slowed down just a little bit. And then also I wanted to add some gems, which I didn't get to add on, but it's all good because they still turned out super cute. And this is something I forgot to mention, but when it comes to the foil, yes, it comes in like really big pieces most of the time. So what I like to do before every set, if I know that a client is getting those foil pieces, I just literally use my cuticle pusher and break up. I put like a bunch of like big pieces onto a napkin or, something to hold it, anything that I'm using, and I just break it up and leave them there. That way, when it comes time to place them on the nail, they're already broken up. All I have to do is really pick up and place. Because when I first started, I used to two things actually. I would either use like really large pieces of foil, which obviously is just not it, or I would try to break them up as I went. And y'all, that used to take so much time. And then I used to get so frustrated because the foil would be flying everywhere. It would be getting stuck to stuff. And I just felt like I was taking forever trying to do that. So it does help to have stuff like that already prepared, especially if it's like a set like this. I think for future reference, next time I'm going to make sure that I have my flowers prepped already, but we end up having to rush spur of the moment. So that is why nothing was prepped exactly how I want it. But I'm just making sure I look at the nails from different angles, making sure that they look nice and good. This is the application. As you can see, they look super good. I could just slap a top coat on and send her about her day, but obviously we're not going to do that. So, but that just shows you right there that the neater you work, the better, like it's going to save you so much time, and the nails just be looking so fire, y'all. So now I'm just going in and I'm just cleaning up the shape just a little bit, just making it a little bit more crisp. And as I mentioned earlier, because I made sure to wipe around the skin, I made sure to keep following the sides of the nails, the free edge, keeping the shape there. I don't really have much to do besides clean up the shape. And another major thing is to make sure that you are getting underneath the nails, because especially with encapsulation, a lot of times when you're applying the acrylic, constantly running that brush up against the sides and up against the free edge can cause acrylic and stuff to get underneath of there, and at times it will dry a little rigid, especially when you're using a really sharp file like I am. You just want to make sure that you are making everything nice and straight, nice and clean, nice and uniform. Because that does make a difference, believe it or not. You know, you would think that nails are super cute, and then you see the bottoms and they're all jacked up, and it's like, whoa, no, ma'am. So that's just something to keep in mind. And as you can see, I'm still pulling back the client's skin on both sides. You do not want to cut your client. It is so uncomfortable, and it literally takes a little minute, I feel like, to heal, but I think the uncomfortable part is the biggest part. And it hurts. It really hurts. It's like you're digging into their skin. So just make sure that you are taking your time and pulling back the skin. I'm filing the free edge at a 90-degree angle, straight up and down. And here with my drill bit, I am sealing the cuticles. I did switch my drill bit, but that was just for this set. Why? I have no idea. It was just what I grabbed first and we rocked out with it. Like I said, I was kind of rushing. So, but yeah, sealing the cuticles is super important because that's what helps prevent lifting and helps, you know, when the nails grow out and it's time for that fill-in. Such a smoother process, such a better look. It holds the retention better, and the overall quality of the nail just stays really well. So this is a really important step. You do want to make sure that you're just getting the entire nail going from side to side, up and down. This smooths out the entire nail. Make sure you have no lumps and bumps. Make sure everything is nice and even for applying the top coat or doing whatever design. And when you're sealing the cuticles, you do just want to work from one side to the other. I don't want to say left to right or right to left because obviously it varies depending on your dominant hand. But you do just want to make sure that you are getting the entire cuticle, making sure that you are getting the entire nail. And this, you know, if you don't take your time on the step, I'm not saying, you know, move like a turtle, but this will show a lot of flaws if you rush through this. So you just want to make sure you take your time. And then I didn't get the next step, but we buffed them, she washed them, and we applied the top coat. So this is the finished result. I really love them. They give perfect for spring. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to comment, like, and definitely subscribe. That's the biggest thing right now, y'all. Like and subscribe. Just do that for your girl. If you do one thing, like and subscribe. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.